Hey y'all, TRG here, and in this video I'll be providing an update on a massive blast of freezing cold air that will be impacting much of the United States, as well as with the potential of snowfall with that blast of cold air. We'll also be doing an in-depth dive into the potential of severe weather as we go towards the end of December. Let's go right on into today's video. We're going to start here with your 12Z GFS model run provided by tropicaltidbits.com. Right now we are seeing a lot of rainfall make its way across portions of the central United States and moving into the Ohio Valley and mid-Atlantic areas as we go into tonight. We're also seeing a lot of snowfall up here in Canada going into the far northern side of the United States. As we go towards tomorrow, that rainfall will begin to make its way into much of the northeastern portions of the United States. All of the snow should be staying in portions of Ontario, Canada, as opposed to actually getting to the United States. Then we're going to go all the way out here to our next blast of cold air. This is going to be December 20th, and you'll see this little system here that's making its way across portions of the United States as we go towards December 20th. That's going to bring the chance for snowfall to areas like North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Missouri, maybe even into portions of the Midwest as well. And as that moves on out to the south and east, we talked about this in last video, it might bring the chance for some snowfall out here in portions of the Mid-Atlantic and to portions of the Northeast as well. However, models have downtrended quite significantly on that, so I wouldn't expect much anymore, but we still are looking at the potential for some flurries going into Saturday, December 21st. That blast of cold air is going to hang around for a long time, and we'll see another system, another little clipper system here moving along with that blast of cold air going into the 22nd of December. Could bring snowfall to some of the same areas as well. Not really accumulating much, not going to be a snowstorm. And then as we get into the 23rd and 24th of December, that's heading almost into Christmas, we're going to start getting a little bit warmer as we see a high pressure build in the east, and we see a trough ejection start to occur out here in the western portion of the United States. So that will actually lead to probably a very cold, but hopefully inactive Christmas. And then as we go into the 26th, that trough will traverse the Rockies and we'll end up with some rainfall out there in the United States. And this could be our first severe weather threat, could be on the 26th of December. And we are getting a little bit far out here, but there's a lot of agreement in the potential of severe weather. I'll go over that towards the latter half of the video. And we could even see another severe threat going into the 28th and 29th of December. Going in here with your European 12Z model run with precipitation type as well. You can see we're going to go ahead and pull this all the way out till that first clipper system here, pulling in on the 19th of December. I'm quite confident that will bring snowfall to a good chunk of the north central United States into portions of the Great Lakes regions as well as the northern Midwest. That blast of cold air is going to push down and we're going to have that missed opportunity at a nor'easter. I don't believe we'll be seeing a snowstorm out of that clipper system, but again, could still see some flurries going into Saturday morning, December 21st. We'll see that next clipper system push through to much of the same area as well. That's going to bring some snowfall, but it probably won't accumulate much. And then the 22nd of December, we'll get that big blast of cold air that actually could bring freezing temperatures all the way to as far as northeastern Oklahoma. So we will keep an eye on that. And then pulling this out even further here into the 26th, 27th of December, that's when we could see a severe threat out here in portions of the deep south of the United States, as well as in generally the same area for the 28th, maybe the 29th of December as well here in the European model. Before we dive on into the rest of today's video, I ask you to hit that like button, share this video with your family, friends, and on social media, and subscribe to the channel if you are new with the notification bell set to all. I appreciate you guys for all the support on the last video, and hopefully we could get this one out to the YouTube algorithm as well. Let's go right back on into today's video. Now we're going to go to the Canadian model. Now this one will not go all the way out until the 28th or wherever we may see that severe threat, but it's still going to go all the way out till Christmas. So we'll be able to see this clipper system here on the Canadian model run that brings snowfall to much of the north central sides of the United States, as well as the far northern Midwest into the Great Lakes regions. That also will probably bring some lake effect snowfall to portions of the Northeast as well. The CMC model, which is the Canadian model run, actually does bring a bit of a snowstorm here to the last few states in the northeastern portions of the US. Literally on like the last few frames, it brings snowstorm conditions here Saturday morning. So we will still keep an eye on that. Personally, I don't see that happening anymore. I think the CMC is going to be a bit of an outlier here, but it's still possible, which is why I'm saying snowfall is possible going into Saturday. Then we'll see that next clipper system, which the Canadian model run actually has in mostly Canada into Michigan, and then it pushes into the Northeast and dissipates. And we'll bring this all the way out to the end of the model run. This is December 26th And you can see that same ordeal where we have a big trough ejection out here, and that's going to allow for potentially a severe weather threat somewhere in the deep south portions of the United States here on the Canadian model run as well. Now let's look at your 12Z GFS model run for the temperatures here. I want to show you guys these blasts of cold air that I've been talking about for the last 2 or 3 videos here. The first big one is going to be coming in on December 19th with that Clipper system, and this could bring freezing temperatures Friday morning all the way down to as far as northeastern Oklahoma, going into Tennessee, as well as, of course, paralleling into North Carolina. As we go through the 20th, it's going to warm up just a bit, just the tiniest bit. Obviously, we have daytime heating there, and then Saturday morning, it's going to divot down further south as well. So Saturday, we could see those freezing temperatures potentially getting as far south as northern Louisiana, into some areas of northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, northern Georgia, and into much of Virginia and northern North Carolina. Pushing that even further here into Sunday, that cold blast is going to continue southward, again getting into Oklahoma, Arkansas, this time potentially divoting down into maybe as far south as central Georgia. And then finally here on Monday, we're going to see a little bit of a warm up out there in the central United States, but a significant cool down going into the 23rd of December here for pretty much the entirety of the northeastern portions of the United States, potentially getting into around 25 degrees Fahrenheit in central North Carolina. Christmas Eve here, we're going to continue with a bit of a cooler pattern out here in the eastern portions of the U.S. as we see that low pressure system probably go on out to sea. I imagine it won't go up the east coast like the CMC model run has, so that will linger some cooler temperatures going into Christmas Eve. But a good chunk of the United States will be experiencing some pretty good temperatures here. You're looking at probably the mid to upper 40s for pretty much the entirety of the United States, with the exception of the Central Plains, which will probably warm up into the mid to upper 50s, maybe even as far as the lower 60s there. Going into Christmas Day, it should be a really nice Christmas Day in the entirety of the United States, unless you live in the higher elevations of the U.S. So pretty much except for the Rockies, we are going to be very, very far above average temperatures wise. So it's going to end up being a very cold before Christmas, but we're going to end up getting a really, really warm Christmas, which is going to allow for pretty much the only snow chance here to probably be in the extreme northeastern portions of the U.S. and the extreme north central portions of the U.S. for Christmas Day here. So I don't think many of us will actually be able to see a white Christmas here in 2024. After that, we'll be going into that trough ejection pattern where we see a severe weather threat possible on the 26th of December here. You can see that big warm up that we're going to end up experiencing here going on into the day after Christmas is going to allow for some more instability to build up from the Gulf of Mexico. That's going to be able to pull it up into the Central Plains thanks to that trough that we'll see in the western portions of the U.S. And that should allow for a crashing of this trough ejection and this warmer weather, and that should create a cold front in here with a severe weather threat possible somewhere in the southern sides of the United States. We'll get into more details here in just a couple minutes. Pulling that forward here into December 27th, you'll see that warm-up continues. December 28th, we'll see another big warm-up, and that's going to be another severe weather day where we could end up with a couple severe storms as well. And then going beyond that, we're over 300 hours out now, which means literally everything is going to change. So I don't want to go any further than that. I do want to compare the European temperatures as well as to what we saw on the GFS model run. So same ordeal, our first big blast, probably our most potent blast here, is going to be on the 19th. That blast that happens on the 19th is what's going to linger all the way until like the 24th or 25th of December in portions of the eastern sides of the U.S. So on Thursday morning, we're going to see those freezing temperatures potentially divot all the way down into Kansas and Oklahoma, even into Arkansas, Tennessee, maybe into North Carolina and Virginia as well. I do think the European model run is underdoing those freezing temperatures a bit. I think the GFS is going to be a bit more correct with that. December 20th, that's Friday, you could see that blast really pushing in here on Friday morning. That's going to be your main blast. So the 19th into the 20th is when we're going to see that big blast of freezing cold air into much of the United States. And then going into Saturday, that should pass more to the south. So I'm going to mark this here. This is where your freezing point is generally on the 20th, and it should go quite further to the south on that on the 21st here, and it indeed does. You'll see the 21st brings that blast all the way down into potentially Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, into Georgia and the Carolinas as well. So we're going to see that blast go really far south on Saturday. And then as we go into Sunday, it should move a little bit more north. And then Sunday, it will linger in across the eastern portions of the United States. And then going into Christmas Eve, it should be freezing temps in the eastern U.S., whereas the middle of the U.S., the central U.S., should be warming up on Christmas Day. This is Christmas Day now, and you can see the European model run also agrees with some very warm temperatures in pretty much the entirety of the U.S., with the exception of the north central U.S., the northeastern U.S., as well as in the higher elevations of the Rockies. So those will be your three opportunities for a white Christmas, is if you live in the Rocky Mountains, if you live in the north central U.S., and probably the far northeastern United States as well. That's going to be your three opportunities for a white Christmas. But overall, it should be a very warm Christmas. Going into the 26th, we should see those temperatures continue to climb. That severe threat on the 26th will decrease those temperatures thanks to that cold front pushing through. We should see those temperatures rapidly recover on the 27th. If that does become a severe threat, it would be for like Mississippi and Louisiana. And then the 28th, we should continue to see those temperatures climb. So we will probably be heading into 2025 pretty warm. Now, New Year's Day might be freezing cold. We'll have to see if we get a very sharp cold front like the European model portrays, where we have a severe threat in the deep south and then a ridiculous blast behind it or not. But right now, that is just too far out to discuss. All right, now I want to talk about some severe weather potential here. So we're looking at the GFS 500 millibar wind speeds here provided by College of DuPage. So we're going to pull this all the way out till we see our severe threat. This is your Clipper system here on the 19th, by the way. But we're going to pull this all the way out towards the middle of the model run. This is about 186 hours out, and this is when we get our first trough ejection out here in the western portions of the United States. You'll see this trough here on the far left-hand side of your screen, pushing in next Tuesday. That's a week from tomorrow. And if we pull this on forward more, you'll see that trough divots into the United States there on Christmas Day. And then going into the 26th, it traverses the Rockies. And then either the 26th or the 27th, we're going to end up with a severe weather threat somewhere out here in Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, or Arkansas, generally that area. The magnitude is way too far out to speak of, but we are pretty confident in the potential for severe weather going into the day after Christmas. Then pushing that out further, we'll see that trough continue to traverse the central United States. It will linger in on the 27th. And then as we go into the 28th, you'll see another trough ejection that will most likely enter the United States here going into Saturday, December 28th, and either the 28th or the 29th, that will become a severe weather threat for somewhere out here in probably Oklahoma, Texas, into portions of the deep south United States as well. So definitely going to continue to keep an eye on this, and I'm going to go a bit more in depth. All right, so this is using the CFS version 2 week 2 accumulated supercell composite parameter here, basically just showing you where tornado ingredients will be a possibility going into a certain time frame. As you can see at the bottom of your screen, this is probably our severe weather time frame here from about December 23rd all the way till the 29th of December. And the CFS gives it the best probability in Texas, Louisiana, into the far southern sides of the United States. I do think when this updates pretty soon here, we'll see it pull a little bit more to the north, but generally we're going to be watching the southern tier of the United States for the potential of severe weather going into the time frame of after Christmas, most likely. Going into 2025, so this is the very end of 2024, beginning of 2025, we'll continue to see that pattern where we may get a opportunity of severe weather in the far southern sides of the United States. This does light up on the East Coast, but I don't know about that. For the moment, I'm going to ignore that because it's not a strong signals. Those are very, very light colors rather, so you really don't want to pay attention to that. But generally, we're going to be looking at severe weather possible in this area here to close out 2024. Here's another way you can look at it. This is the daily sum of the United States supercell composite parameter. So pretty much the same thing we looked at, but this time it's on more of a straight chart. But towards the end of this, you'll see we're going to really be flatlining here all the way from the 17th of December, which is tomorrow, till about Christmas Eve. We're going to be flatlining, pretty much no tornado potential whatsoever. As we get into Christmas Day, you'll see that supercell composite increase just a little bit, just a single one increase increases quite a bit. And then at the end of the year, look at that, you'll see all of them begin to increase in the daily sum of supercell composite. So that is a much larger signal on the potential of severe weather, for the potential of severe weather here to close out 2024. So I'm definitely watching that closely as somebody who is really watching second season. This is definitely the first major signal we have seen. Now, at the moment, it's still far out, so I wouldn't be worried about it by any means, but it is definitely something I want you guys to watch, because it could easily be our first big severe weather setup that we've seen in what, like the last 3 months, ever since probably August was probably the last big setup we've seen. I don't know if this will be a big setup, but we'll see. I mean, it has some pretty good potential on almost all of our model runs, as well as just the overall pattern and what you see here with the CFS's model run, or this is actually the GFS ensembles here. So definitely the potential for severe weather going towards the end of 2024. Speaking of your GFS ensembles, here it is. This is the average wind speeds that we will be seeing here on your GFS ensembles. So we could actually end up seeing a massive trough. The GFS ensemble wants a massive trough here, pulling in on the 28th of December. So if this did happen, it would definitely cause severe weather in the far southern side of the U.S. This wouldn't be like an Oklahoma severe threat. This would be more of a Louisiana, southeast Texas, western Mississippi severe weather threat. And it definitely shows a big trough ejection. And that's pretty good consistency. For 294 frames out, that is definitely consistency. Normally, 294 frames out, we see something more like this, where most of the map is just going to end up being white, as in there's pretty much no agreement between the ensembles. But this time, there's actually good agreement. Going into the 28th, which is Saturday, December 28th, we could see some pretty good chances of severe weather. I also want to show you guys the mean accumulation of snowfall here. We're going to back this on up to Christmas Day. So from now all the way to Christmas Day, these are the areas that have the best opportunity to see snowfall. You'll see even some chances going as far south as into Missouri, potentially even into North Carolina and Virginia as well, but those aren't really big chances. Those are small chances. So while you have a chance, it's not by any means guaranteed. Whereas if you're in the blue here, you're probably going to see at least an inch or two of snowfall between now and Christmas Day. Now, as we go into Christmas, like I said, we're going to see a big warm up, so you probably won't see a white Christmas, but it will be cooler in portions of the north central U.S. as well as in the northeast. So I think those two areas, as well as in the Rocky Mountains, will be able to have an opportunity of a white Christmas here. But if you're somewhere, say North Carolina, Virginia, even into Pennsylvania, anywhere in the central U.S., I mean, your chance is very slim, if not near zero, for a white Christmas. Now let's take a look here at the official CPC outlook for December 22nd through the 26th. So this does include Christmas Day. And you can see they are very confident in a big warm up here in the western portions of the United States, probably after Christmas or on Christmas Day. Before the 22nd is when that big blast of cold air is going to enter the United States, and it will be lingering in much of the eastern portions of the U.S. between the 22nd and the 26th. So we'll see that cold air lingering in the east, and then we'll see that big ridge warm pattern starting to increase temperatures out there in much of the central and western portions of the U.S. That will lead for the potential of some severe weather, like we've been talking about, as well as above average rainfall out here in the south central United States, maybe going into the central United States as well, and then much below average precipitation out here in pretty much the entirety of the eastern United States, as well as a good chunk of the western and north central United States, with a lot of atmospheric rivers impacting the northwestern areas of the Rockies and the northwestern areas of the United States. Going after Christmas here, this includes the 24th, which is Christmas Eve, all the way till the 30th. You'll see that big warm-up continue. We see that massive warm-up in the entirety of the United States. The whole U.S. is going to be warming up at or after Christmas, and that will allow for a lot more active weather in terms of precipitation, as well as severe weather potential for a good chunk of the United States. Now, that severe weather threat, that should be limited to the southern tier of the U.S. unless we see a massive trough. I don't see severe weather being possible outside of like the far southern United States, if not the southern central plains there. So I don't think we'll see severe weather probably past Oklahoma or past Arkansas, unless we see massive uptrends with our severe weather threat. The risk of hazardous temperatures has been maintained here on the CPC site for the day before Christmas, so that's Christmas Eve. It's going to be a very chilly Christmas Eve if you guys are out there in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama. You guys are going to be into the freezing out there in those areas Christmas Eve morning. I want to show you one more thing here on the official outlook here. That's precipitation. They have outlined 2 areas for the chance of precipitation here, heavy precipitation. Obviously, that atmospheric river that's going to be coming in around Christmas or after Christmas, but also for those 2 trough ejections we'll be seeing out here in the Central Plains. They have outlined that for the 24th through the 27th of December. I do think they will actually increase that window. We may see that from like the 25th of December to like the 28th or 29th of December, because we should see 2 trough ejections enter the United States that will cause the potential for very heavy rainfall and severe weather in the south central portions of the U.S. To close out the video, I want to show you guys what's happening across the country right now. We have winter weather advisories and as well as winter storm warnings in portions of the northwestern United States. We also have some thunderstorms and some very heavy rain showers happening out here in Tennessee, Arkansas, into Texas and Oklahoma. Those are very heavy rain showers if you can get under those red reflectivity values. We also have some moderate rain showers up here in Tennessee, Kentucky, into Ohio and Pennsylvania. And this actually will be accompanied by the risk for severe weather. The Storm Prediction Center has introduced a marginal risk level 1 out of 5 for the potential of severe weather today. Primarily, this is the damaging wind outlook here, as well as some small hail can't be ruled out. I do think we could see a brief tornado here looking at the HRRR model run around the 6 to 7 p.m. time frame in southwestern Arkansas. I wouldn't fully rule out a brief tornado, but overall, it's just small hail and damaging winds as your primary threats for severe weather today. Thank you guys so much for watching this, another in-depth look into our blast of cold air that will be impacting the United States going into next week and the end of this week as well. I hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure you stay safe and watch the snowfall. Goodbye.